Love After 60. 5 things men secretly fantasize about doing to women they love. Welcome to Wise Life After 60. So grateful to have you here. Have you ever wondered what a man in love truly dreams about when he looks at the woman he cherishes? It isn't the glossy Hollywood scenes, nor the casual banter men sometimes share. In the quiet truth of life after 60, men carry longings that are far deeper than youthful passion. They're the kinds of desires that do not fade with age, but ripen like a fruit that has taken decades to sweeten. At this stage, a man's fantasies are not about conquest or fleeting pleasure. They are about devotion, about finding the one woman who makes him feel whole enough to rest, yet inspired enough to keep becoming more. For women over 60 who wonder if men still dream of love, the answer is yes. But these dreams look different now. They are quieter, rarer, and often hidden behind the calm face of a man who has lived through storms. As Rumi once wrote, "Lovers don't finally meet somewhere, they're in each other all along." Mature love, especially dating after 60, is not about recreating youth. It is about discovering the kind of intimacy that makes time itself feel softer. In this space of senior dating tips, male psychology, and elderly wisdom, I want to share with you 5 deeply human fantasies men hold close, things they only imagine doing with the woman they truly love. If this speaks to your heart, stay with me. What you will hear may not only change the way you see men in love, but perhaps the way you see yourself and the love still waiting for you in this beautiful chapter of life. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video on love, relationships, and everything in between. Let's uncover what these deep desires reveal about mature love and why they might just be the secret to a passionate relationship that lasts. Because when a man loves after 60, his imagination does not wander to many women. It centers on one. And in that quiet focus, his first dream begins to take shape. Thing number 1. Being her safe place. When I think about what men truly long for in mature love, especially in dating after 60, it is not always the grand gestures people imagine. For many of us, the deepest fantasy is far quieter. It is the longing to be her safe place. Not a fortress of stone or steel, but a space where she can finally let her shoulders drop, breathe deeply, and know she does not have to carry everything on her own. For women over 60 who have lived with resilience and strength, this kind of safety is not about losing independence. It is about having someone who honors that independence, while gently reminding her she no longer has to fight every battle alone. In senior love advice, we often talk about attraction or compatibility, but all of it rests on this foundation of trust, the feeling that you are free to be yourself without judgment. I remember watching a dear friend, Evelyn, who had lived alone for nearly 2 decades. She was sharp, capable, and admired by everyone in our community. Yet one evening, as we spoke about life after 60, she told me something I never forgot. "I didn't realize how heavy it felt to always be the strong one," she said. "Sometimes I just want to know that if I stumble, someone will be there." Those words carried the weight of years of self-reliance and the quiet longing for a safe harbor. When she later met a man who truly loved her, it wasn't his grand declarations that changed her life. It was the way he noticed when she was weary, the way he listened without rushing to solve, the way he kept his word even in the smallest things. And little by little, she allowed herself to soften. In his presence, she no longer had to wear the armor she had built over years of heartbreak and survival. She could simply be. This, I believe, is what so many men dream of in mature love. Not conquering, not controlling, but creating a haven where she feels safe enough to let her spirit rest. For him, the fantasy is fulfilled not when she first says yes to his love, but when he sees that she has entrusted him with her unguarded self. That moment, quiet and unspoken, is the reward his heart has been longing for. And while safety is precious, there is another dream that often stirs in the heart of men over 60, one that speaks to joy, vitality, and the spark that keeps love alive. Thing number 2, reawakening her joy and passion. One of the most tender fantasies a man carries in mature love is the dream of reawakening her joy. After 60, life has often been heavy with responsibility, with losses that still echo, with days that demanded strength rather than laughter. And yet, in the quiet chambers of his heart, he longs to be the one who helps her rediscover the lightness of being. Not by pushing, not by demanding, but simply by creating the kind of space where joy returns like an old friend. The Greek philosopher Epicurus once wrote, "Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance." Those words remind me that true happiness in life after 60 is not about acquiring more, but about noticing what is already here. The warmth of sunlight across the skin, the comfort of a familiar melody, the way a shared glance can dissolve a long silence. These small things are where joy hides, and a man in love dreams of being the reason she remembers how to savor them again. Passion, too, takes on a richer meaning in senior love. It is no longer only the rush of early attraction, but the intertwining of emotion, memory, and tenderness. He longs to remind her that beauty does not fade simply because the years advance, that she is still radiant, still desired, still capable of igniting the world around her. As Rumi said, "Let yourself be silently drawn by the strange pull of what you really love. It will not lead you astray." For a man who loves deeply, seeing her follow that pull, whether through laughter, movement, or intimacy, is not just a dream, but a quiet mission of the heart. This is why senior dating tips often encourage shared activities. They are not simply hobbies, they are invitations to joy. A walk in the garden, music that makes her sway without thinking, or mornings spent talking slowly over coffee. These are the sparks that bring life back to life. And for him, to be present in that moment when she feels alive again, when her laughter rises without hesitation, is a gift beyond measure. So let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that spark returned in your own life? Or perhaps someone helped you rediscover it when you least expected it? I'd love to hear your reflections in the comments, because these stories of reawakening joy are the very heartbeat of love after 60. And while joy is a treasure, another dream often lives just as quietly within a man's heart. The deep desire to protect what he holds most precious. Thing number 3, protecting what's precious. What does it mean to love someone so deeply that your first instinct is to shield them from life's harsher winds? Not because she is fragile, but because what you share feels too rare to leave unguarded. For many men in love after 60, this quiet urge becomes one of the most treasured fantasies to protect what is precious. It is not about swooping in with grand rescues or heroic speeches. It is about being the calm, steady presence that keeps her heart safe day after day. I think of an old friend named Harold who had lived alone for many years after his divorce. When he met Linda, a woman over 60 whose smile could soften even the hardest day, he told me he felt something awaken in him. Being with her feels like standing under a shelter during a storm, he once said. He didn't try to take over her world. Instead, he quietly wove himself into it with care. He noticed that when she was tired from tending her garden, so he carried the heavier pots. He stayed close when they walked through crowded markets, not to control, but to let her know she was never alone in the noise. Other times, his protection was less about action and more about presence. He listened when she shared worries, resisting the urge to fix everything because he knew her voice mattered more than his solutions. He paid attention to the smallest details, remembering which memories still hurt, and steering conversations gently when he saw her eyes cloud. For Harold, this was not duty, it was devotion. In psychology, they say that real protection in relationships is not about power, but about peace. Mature love, especially dating after 60, asks us to filter the world in a way that keeps tenderness alive. And for many men, the fantasy is not about being a shield against everything, but about being a quiet guardian of what makes the relationship sacred. And Harold never once said, "I will protect you." He simply showed it, in gestures so natural they became invisible, like the air they both breathed. And perhaps that is what makes it so powerful. In senior dating advice, we often focus on communication, attraction, or shared goals. But underneath all of it is this simple truth. When a man dreams of protecting the woman he loves, it is never about making her smaller. It is about giving her more room to flourish, knowing that love itself is a delicate living thing worth sheltering. And for many men, once they imagine offering that kind of protection, another longing rises quietly within them, the dream of walking side by side into the future, not just today, but through every season still to come.
Thing number 4, growing old gracefully together. Growing old is something none of us can escape, but growing old together is something we can choose. And for many men in mature love, that choice becomes one of the sweetest fantasies of all. After the storms of youth and the long years of carrying responsibilities, the dream shifts. It is no longer about defying age, but about welcoming it, hand in hand, with the woman he loves. I often reflect on the words of Joan Chittister, who wrote, "A good marriage is one long conversation that always feels too short." That is the heart of this vision. It is not about clinging to the fire of youth, but about tending the steady flame of connection. A man in love after 60 dreams of mornings that begin with quiet rituals, meals shared at a familiar table, and the kind of laughter that grows richer with time. In senior dating advice, people often speak of companionship, but what he imagines goes deeper than that. It is not simply having someone beside him. It is knowing that each wrinkle, each story, each passing year adds another layer to the bond you've built together. For women over 60, this is often what matters most, to be seen and cherished exactly as you are, without needing to compete with the memory of younger days. For him, this continuity is proof that love has endured, that it is resilient, that it continues to bloom even in later seasons. Growing older with someone you trust and adore is not a narrowing of life. It is a widening of perspective. It is facing the winters and the summers together, embracing the small victories and finding beauty even in the ordinary. It is walking into the future not with fear, but with gratitude for the person walking beside you. So let me ask you, if you could paint your vision of growing old gracefully with someone, what would it look like? Would it be mornings on the porch with coffee, adventures to places still unseen, or simply sharing laughter in the kitchen after dinner? Share your thoughts in the comments, because every story adds to the picture of what lasting love truly means in life after 60. And yet, even with the dream of growing old side by side, many men quietly hold one more longing: the desire to live each day in a way that earns not only her love, but her admiration and respect.
Thing number 5. Earning her admiration and respect. When I think of what it truly means for a man to love deeply, I cannot separate it from the longing to earn her admiration. For many men in love after 60, being cherished is beautiful, but being respected is what makes the heart stand tall. It is the quiet fantasy of being seen as a man of character, someone she can look to with trust and pride, not because of what he once achieved, but because of how he shows up each day. I recall a man I once knew, Richard, who had spent his life as a school teacher. By the time I met him, he was retired, contented, and living quietly with his partner, Anne. He told me once, "It's not the flowers I buy her that matter. It's the fact she believes in me." What struck me was the way his eyes softened as he said it. He wasn't chasing applause or recognition from the world anymore. What mattered most was that the woman beside him respected him, not just for loving her, but for living with integrity. For men in mature love, admiration is like oxygen. Love may be the heartbeat, but respect is the backbone that keeps the relationship strong when challenges arrive. It isn't earned through perfection, but through small acts of consistency, keeping promises, listening when she speaks, carrying himself with dignity even in disagreement. These are the quiet things that matter most in senior dating advice, because they sustain attraction long after the first spark fades. In psychology, they often say that respect is the soil in which love takes root. Without it, passion withers. With it, love continues to grow. A man over 60 knows this more than most, for by this stage he has lived enough to realize that admiration cannot be demanded. It must be earned, and earned daily. What makes this dream so powerful is that it flows both ways. Just as he longs to inspire pride in her, he also wants to feel proud of the person he becomes in her presence. It is a cycle of growth. She sees him as reliable, dependable, worthy of trust, and he rises into that vision with gratitude. That shared respect becomes the invisible thread that binds the relationship in life after 60. I remember Richard telling me that Anne once introduced him at a family gathering as the most dependable man I know. He laughed, brushing it off as nothing, but the glow in his face betrayed the truth. Those words meant everything. They weren't about grand gestures or heroic deeds. They were about the quiet reliability that made her feel secure. And for him, that respect was the deepest reward of all. And perhaps this is the truest measure of mature love, not only to be loved, but to be admired by the one person whose opinion matters most. When I look back on these 5 quiet dreams, I see they're not fantasies in the way the world often imagines them. They're not about wild escapes or grand illusions. They are about depth, about connection, about what love becomes when life has already taught us which things are worth holding on to and which ones were only distractions. For a man in mature love, especially in dating after 60, the deepest desires are not about control or conquest. They are about presence, care, and the privilege of walking beside a woman who has her own strength, her own story, and her own dignity. To be her safe place is to honor the battles she has fought and the years she has carried. To reawaken her joy is to remind her that life still sings, even in its later chapters. To protect what is precious is to gently guard the bond you've built together from the storms of the world. To grow old gracefully, side by side, is to see time not as a thief, but as a witness to your devotion. And to earn her admiration and respect is to know that the love you share is not just tender, but also strong enough to last. These are not small things. They are the very heart of love after 60. They remind us that mature love, far from being a fading ember, can burn warmer and steadier than any flame of youth. For women over 60, knowing that men still carry these quiet longings is not just reassurance. It is proof that love at this stage of life can be even richer, wiser, and more tender than anything that came before. If these reflections touched you, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who is also navigating life after 60, and subscribe to Wise Life After 60 for more conversations on senior wisdom, relationships, and the beauty of growing older with grace. Until next time, take care of your spirit, and remember, the best chapters of love are often written in the later seasons of life.